The GNU should not dilute SA's Pan-African solidarity. South Africa's Government of National Unity GNU took shape on June 30th when President Cyril Ramaphosa announced his early anticipated cabinet, which comprises 32 ministers assisted by 43 deputy ministers. There has been much debate on how the new government will set its policies with 9 ideologically diverse parties represented at the cabinet and deputy ministerial levels. Many have been worried that the government will be hamstrung by policy incoherence as the parties making up the GNU seek to fulfill the promises they made to their vastly diverse constituencies during the election campaign. One of the areas to watch will be South Africa's foreign policy under the new government. Foreign policy, which is an expression of national identity and values, is one of the most contested policy domains in South African politics. This contestation will now be taken to the new multi-party cabinet and the Parliament's Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation, which is no longer controlled by a single party with an absolute majority. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, which is tasked with implementing the country's foreign policy, will still be controlled by the ANC following the appointment of the party's Ronald Lamola, who will be assisted by 2 deputies also drawn from the party. These appointments signal Ramaphosa's desire for continuity in the foreign policy domain, which has been under the control of the ANC for the past 30 years. The South African government has played an active role in trying to resolve conflicts in countries like Zimbabwe, Sudan, Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo DRC, and Ethiopia, to mention a few. While having an ANC minister overseeing DIRCO will indeed ensure a degree of continuity, the minister will now have to run his decisions through the multi-party cabinet and also be accountable to a huge parliamentary portfolio committee. As such, the ANC losing a monopoly over both the legislative and executive levers means that other political players holding an ideology different from its own will have a real influence over the country's foreign policy for the first time since the end of the apartheid. That said, one of the most interesting areas to watch will be South Africa's approach to Africa in its foreign policy. For the past 30 years, the ANC has defined its foreign policy as Afrocentric and Pan-African in outlook, pledging to advance the interests of the continent on international platforms where it has a presence. The South African government has played an active role in trying to resolve conflicts in countries like Zimbabwe, Sudan, Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo DRC, and Ethiopia, to mention a few. Led by the ANC, the South African government has also played an important role in fostering regional integration through the creation of such structures as the AU, the Pan-African Parliament, and the African Continental Free Trade Area, among others. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki, together with other leaders from Nigeria and Senegal, led the adoption of the new Partnership of Africa's Development, NEPAD, which had become the AU's flagship continental economic development program for the past 2 decades. This reflected the ANC government's appreciation of the importance of regional integration in boosting trade and economic development not only in South Africa but on the continent as a whole. Moreover, although South Africa enjoys significant influence on the continent because of its history and its economic power, it has refrained from publicly criticizing human rights abuses in countries such as neighboring Zimbabwe and Eswatini, perhaps to avoid being seen as harboring hegemonic ambitions. However, the second largest party in the GNU, the DA, has in the past not shied away from criticizing human rights abuses by the government of Zimbabwe and Eswatini. The DEA has also criticized the South African government heavily when it failed to arrest then Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir on his visit to South Africa in 2015, despite having been issued with an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court (ICC), which enjoined ICC members to arrest him. The ANC government may have deliberately let al-Bashir escape to protect its reputation in Africa and avoid to opprobrium of arresting an African head of state on behalf of an institution which is widely viewed as an instrument of imperialism. However, the DEA has also castigated the ANC's government's willingness to send SANDF troops to restore peace in countries like Mozambique and the DRC. One wonders what the impact of the DEA's presence in the GNU would be on South Africa's approach to its relations with African countries. However, I don't think there will be any radical changes in South Africa's posture towards Africa in the new dispensation. The behavior of political parties tend to change once they are in the corridors of power. There is more latitude to speak one's mind on international affairs from the opposition benches than when one wields actual power. The DEA and other parties will come to appreciate and understand the pragmatic considerations that form the approaches and positions of the previous ANC's governments towards Africa. Is foreign policy coherence in safe hands as GNU takes roots? The June 30 announcement of the 7th administration's executive brought relief to many of us as the Ministry of International Relations remained under ANC control. Elvin Botus, known for his dedication and astute intellect, has been reinstated as Deputy Minister. The vibrant and bold Thandi Moraka is the second Deputy Minister. Additionally, Ronald Lamola, the former Minister of Justice and a key contributor to South Africa's engagements with the International Court of Justice of Palestine, is now serving as Minister. With the support of the highly accomplished Director General Sane Dango, the lineup suggests promising stewardship of South Africa's foreign policy, instilling confidence as the department champions critical projects related to, among others, the AU's Agenda 2063, the UN's Millennium Development Goals, and the ambitious BRICS Plus program, and prepares to host the G20. Contentment with the ANC's continued control of portfolio presumes that including anti-progressive forces in South Africa's Government of National Unity GNU would have minimal impact on foreign policy positions. The assumption is probably based on the belief that the Department of International Relations and Cooperation (DIRCO) solely manages foreign affairs. However, this is inaccurate. Many government departments play distinct roles in nurturing bilateral and multilateral relations, thereby influencing foreign policy goals and the domestic reform agenda. Furthermore, the Cabinet must approve positions tabled at significant multilateral forums. Parliament must ratify all international agreements, and portfolio and select committees must oversee the department. The Cabinet and Parliament's compositions are crucial in determining support for international agreements and solidarity. The DEA holds 6 ministerial and 6 deputy ministerial positions. Additionally, the party has 87 parliamentary seats and holds the position of the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. This indicates the party's substantial clout in the political landscape. Its impact is not confined with the national borders but extends internationally, surpassing perceived levels of authority as demonstrated in the analysis of 4 ministers and 2 deputy ministries assigned to the DEA. As demonstrated in the analysis of 4 ministries and 2 deputy ministries assigned to the DEA. The Department of Home Affairs DHA is a crucial government entity, second only to the presidency. Its mission includes managing civil registrations, overseeing citizenship, and protecting the official identity and status of individuals. The department also provides institutional supports and allocates funds to the Electoral Commission of South Africa and the represented political parties fund. As the entity in charge of passport issuance, port control, and managing refugees and asylum seekers, the DHA plays a crucial role in promoting international relations and collaboration. Its involvement in visa issuance, fee determination, and fee collection through its staff in 32 foreign missions or through designated DIRCO officials further underscores its influence in global affairs. Second, in the current era of artificial intelligence, big data, e-commerce, and e-governance, the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies plays a vital role in advancing the ICT interests of the country internationally. The department carries the responsibility for internet governance and cybersecurity and oversees all radio communications, including the related to maritime and air safety. Additionally, it supervises the implementation of ICT infrastructure, which is reinforced by 8 undersea cables, and promotes investments in data centers and cloud service providers. Moreover, the department actively engages with international telecommunications organizations such as the Universal Postal Unions and the International Telecommunications Union. The mandates of the Departments of Agriculture, DOA, and Forestry, Fisheries, and Environment, DFFE, also intersects with those of DIRCO. For example, the DOA is tasked with promoting economic development, trade, and market access for farming products and fostering international relations for the sector. This involves negotiating, finalizing, and ensuring compliance with import requirements, giving the department significant influence over tariff determination and developments at the World Trade Organization. Hence, the department has attaches in France, Japan, Ethiopia, Switzerland, and Belgium. Similarly, the DFFE is entrusted with processing environmental laws, regulations, policies, norms, and standards to protect and conserve the environment, including wildlife, ecosystems, natural heritage, air quality, and the impact of climate change. It also oversees relevant bilateral memorandums of understanding and ensures compliance with international obligations. Additionally, the department is responsible for stabilizing the fishing sector and deterring illegal fishing and balloon poaching. Thus, the departments rely on facilitating international relations to achieve their mandates. Furthermore, the title of deputy minister may appear to be of lesser importance, but South Africa deputy ministers provide significant strategic support to their ministers. Hence, the deputy ministers in the powerful departments of finance and trade, industry, and competition have substantial sway over South Africa's global engagements. The National Treasury manages the country's finances and crafts fiscal and monetary policies that determine our macroeconomy performance. Fiscal policy underpins income generation and expenditure as expressed in the budget. In contrast, monetary policy involves regulating the money supply and interest rates through the actions of the Reserve Bank. The National Treasury and the South African Reserve Bank are principally influenced by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which affects our fiscal independence as well as the determination of our trade partners and humanitarian aid beneficiaries. Then, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition promotes regional and continental economic integration. It also plays a key role in facilitating exports and investments by negotiating market access, coordinating trade pavilions, and deploying foreign economic representatives to South Africa embassies to carry out the functions. It is an essential partner in the BRICS Plus and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The influence of the DA deputy ministers in the two departments, with their neoliberal orientations and the susceptibility of the Treasury and Reserve Bank, could threaten South Africa's foreign policy objectives. This includes disruption of BRICS' agenda to promote trade in local currencies or currencies other than the US dollars. The provision of such immense power to the DA might not have been deliberate, but it could prove perilous. Before assuming its current positions, the DEA obstructed the government's attempts to provide humanitarian aid to Cuba and filed a court application to mandate the authorities to apprehend Vladimir Putin should he have attended last year's BRICS Plus summit. Additionally, the DEA did not hesitate to weaponize trade by exploiting the African Growth and Opportunity Act to undermine SA's neutrality in the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. The DEA will probably wield their newfound power even more assertively. Generally, too, the DEA and other GNU representatives will probably not represent South Africa's official foreign policy on various issues in their formal and informal engagements with foreign counterparts, which will adversely affect foreign policy coherence. Dr. Reneva Fori is a policy analyst specializing in governance, development, and security. And that's it from Injibs Network. Stay tuned to our celebrity and gossip news.